And I'm so pleased to yield to the subcommittee chairman, Chairman Smith, who has made it his life's mission to fight human rights violations and to spearhead humanitarian missions. Thank you, Mr.
Madam Chair, thank you so very much, and it is an honor and a privilege to join you for both of our subcommittees to be receiving this testimony and really broadcasting to all who will hear our solidarity with the victims, those men, women, and children who are being savagely beaten and killed and raped and tortured by Assad and by other players and other actors in Syria. So thank you again for pulling us together for this hearing. As we all know, since the beginning of the Syrian conflict in 2011, the UN estimates that more than 200,000 have been killed. It would be terrible enough if we could count the dead in Syria as collateral damage from a civil war gone completely out of control. Unfortunately, the truth is far more horrific than that. According to the UN, the government of Bashar al-Assad initiated the conflict to crush the opposition to his brutal rule, and in the process he has used chemical weapons, barrel bombs, and other weapons of mass destruction to kill his own people. This regime has been involved in widespread killings, including children, torture, again, against children, as well as hospital patients, arbitrary arrest and imprisonment on a massive scale, deployment of tanks and helicopter gunships in densely populated areas, heavy and indiscriminate shelling of civilian areas, enforced disappearances, systematic destruction of property and looting, systematic denial of food and water in some areas, and prevention of medical treatment, again, including children. So depraved has the Assad regime been, is that it has been reported to have indiscriminately shelled bakeries with artillery rounds, even though the targets were civilian and not military targets. David Nott, a British volunteer surgeon in Syria, reported in 2013 that victims of government snipers would display wounds in a particular area of the body on particular days, indicating that they may have been targeted in a gruesome game. The Syrian government came to view doctors and nurses as collaborators because they were willing to help rebels in need of medical care. Early on in the conflict, the Assad regime imprisoned hundreds of health workers and tortured many of them to death. Others have just disappeared. Government forces targeted health workers and medical facilities in attacks, erasing the universal principle of medical neutrality. However, the government isn't the only perpetrator of human rights violations in Syria. The UN reports that armed opposition groups, including militias supporting the Assad regime, have been responsible for unlawful indiscriminate killings, torture, and abuse, including hostage-taking. One rebel commander told the Associated Press that his group had released prisoners in bomb-rigged cars, turning them into unwitting suicide bombers. Other groups have perpetrated crimes too egregious to present today in detail. In addition to armed groups such as the Free Syrian Army and the Syrian Revolutionary Front, Al-Qaeda, and its offshoot, including al-Nusra Front, ISIS, operate within this conflict, committing heinous crimes against those unable to leave Syria. We know, and this was in the testimony by Deputy Assistant Secretary Clements, half of its pre-war population in Syria has been displaced. Half of a country gone, displaced. And that is almost without precedent anywhere in the world. The Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Network reported in late 2013 that at least 6,000 women had been reported being raped by one armed group or another, and that the genuine figure was likely much higher due to underreporting. In fact, the International Rescue Committee reported 2 years ago that the primary reason for Syrians to flee their country has been fear of rape. The various armed groups terrorizing people in Syria operate with impunity. Since Syria is not a party to the Rome Statute, the International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction over these human rights violators, although there could be a referral if they were so inclined from the Security Council. Even if the ICC could get involved, Russia has already indicated its opposition to that kind of referral. That is why, again, I introduced last year, and I will do it again soon, a resolution to create an independent tribunal to begin the process of investigating human rights crimes in Syria and bring the reality, the promise of justice to those who now have no fear of any kind of accountability. It would be patterned on what we had in Yugoslavia, Rwanda, and, of course, the independent court in Sierra Leone. The tribunal would prosecute the perpetrators of mass atrocities, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, no matter who committed the crime. And hopefully these individuals will be brought to justice. Again, I want to thank you, Madam Chair, for doing this hearing together with our subcommittees and for your extraordinary leadership.
Thank you so much. A powerful statement.